Welcome back to my channel. So today we are starting craniosynostosis syndrome. This is a part of developmental anomaly. This is the third part, and in this syndrome, there are other syndromes which come under. But we are going to learn about the two main syndrome, that is Crouzon syndrome and Apert syndrome. What is their characteristics? We are going to cover in this lecture, in this video. So, group of conditions characterized by premature fusion of cranial suture is what is craniosynostosis. So there is premature fusion of the sutures. These are the sutures: rhomboid sutures, coronal sutures, sagittal sutures. There is premature, that is before time fusion of these sutures. So there will be abnormal head shape plus other abnormalities. So if there is abnormal head shape, there will be names, a lot of names based on the head shape, which will be covering in this video. So primary craniosynostosis is what? It is primary defect of ossification. As I told you, the sutures are fused early than what they should be. So there will be primary defect of ossification. And secondary craniosynostosis is failure of brain growth. Now since the sutures are fused early, the space for brain growth is very less. So if this is original size of the head, this will be the head size. So the brain growing into it will not get enough space to expand. So there will be microcephaly. This is the normal and the microcephalous head. Now there are types. There is simple craniosynostosis and there is compound or complex craniosynostosis. So in simple, only one suture fuses prematurely. Mainly common sutures which fuse prematurely is the coronal suture and the sagittal suture. Coronal suture and the sagittal suture. Okay, so these simple only one is suture fuses prematurely. But in compound or complex, there is premature fusion of multiple sutures. So this will be more than one sutures which are fusing prematurely. So what is the etiology? In primary craniosynostosis, primary defect in mesenchymal tissues related to ossification in cranial bones. So there is primary defect in the mesenchymal tissues related to the ossification of cranial bones. This is the cause of primary craniosynostosis, primary defect in the mesenchymal tissues. And the secondary, there is inadequate brain growth and other systemic disorder. So I just told you what do you mean by primary and secondary. Primary is the primary defect and failure of brain growth. Now, since there is inadequate brain growth, because there is no space for the brain to grow, there will be other systemic disorders as well, such as endocrine. Then there will be some other complications related to it. So when there is another thing is when children are affected with complex craniosynostosis, that is multiple sutures are involved, occasionally there may be extracranial malformations. There will be other than cranial malformation, in which case it has been termed as syndromic craniosynostosis. So when there is complex craniosynostosis, there is an involvement of more than one suture, there can be extracranial malformation with it. So this together is termed as syndromic craniosynostosis. Now what is the cause of syndromic craniosynostosis? Is the mutation in the FGFR gene 2,3, that is FGFR2 and FGFR3. What is FGFR? It is fibroblast growth factor receptors. So there is mutation in this gene to FGFR2 and FGFR3, which causes the syndromic craniosynostosis. Now we are going to learn about two syndromes related to this. One is Crouzon syndrome and one is Apert syndrome. These are the main two syndromes which questions are asked about in the practical as well as in the university examination. So there is craniosynostosis with syndactyly and syndactyly it is, no? Wait, let me just correct this. And craniosynostosis with syndactyly and craniosynostosis without and with. The without one is the Cruzon syndrome. What is syndactyly? First of all, is the fusion of the metacarpals. You see a fusion of the metacarpals over here. Yes, there is fusion of the phalanges and the metacarpals. And in this is in Epworth syndrome. Without this fusion is called as Cruzon syndrome. Now what are the features? The features are similar, but only one differentiating factor is the syndactyly. Now we come to Cruzon syndrome. There can be in the practical examination they show you a card or a laminate of Cruzon syndrome. So it's very important to know about this syndrome. You can make out that it's a Cruzon syndrome or a Epworth syndrome looking at the facial structures, facial features of the child. It's a genetic disease with a variety of cranial, facial malformation and eye changes. So it is a triad. It is cranial, facial malformation as well as eye changes. It is an autosomal dominant trait and it has no gender predilection in male and female is equal, are having equal so we start with craniofacial dysostosis or Cruzon syndrome. So I told you about the triad. There are skull deformities. Mostly you will see clover leaf skull. There will be other shapes as well. It's also known as, Kleeblatt-Sheddel deformity. You see this clover leaf like structure of the head. Here the bony part also. You see there is this suture which is not fused. Then there is proptosis or exophthalmos. You see the eye popping out of the eye sockets, as well as there are facial abnormalities. There is mid-face hypoplasia. There is not normal growth of the mid-face. There is very less growth of the mid-face, and there will be pseudoprognathis. I will cover all of these one by one. There will be frog face and parrot beak nose. You can see this nose. It appears to be a parrot beak nose. Now these are the triad. You always remember the triad when you have Cruzon syndrome as a question. Mutation in the gene, as I told you, there is gene mutation FGFR, which is fibroblast growth factor receptor 2, which 10q25 to 10q26, 10q region 2 band 5 to 10q region 2 band 6. Now some genes also, in some cases the genes involved is FGFR3 at position at chromosome 4p, region 1 band 6 and subband 3. I have taught you to read chromosome in the first lecture of first video of developmental anomalies. So if you don't remember, go back and study that or read, just watch it. The clinical features of this include coronal and sagittal suture that I told you earlier. They are early synostosis, so they fuse early. Okay, there will be high and wide forehead. The forehead will be, as you can see in this photo, there is high and wide forehead. Triangular frontal defect. It can be triangular frontal defect called as trigonocephaly. So I have put a photo about this here, triangular frontal defect. Can you see this is known as trigonocephaly. As I told you, there are a lot of names to this according to the head shapes. There can be short and broad skull, which is brachiocephaly. I had told you about this remember, in the first video. And then there can be also scaphocephaly, which is boat shaped. You see this boat shaped? This is called as scaphocephaly. And then there is clover leaf, which is Kleblet skedel, or however you want to pronounce it. This is the clover leaf shape. You know how a clover leaf is like this. I'll just show you the photo of a clover leaf as well. Can you make out? Can you appreciate it? Yes. Just this is the shape of a clover leaf. That's why it is known as clover leaf shape. Now, what are the facies of the children who present with this syndrome? So they are frog-like. Can you appreciate it in this photo? You see there is exophthalmos, there is a mid-face hypoplasia, as well as there is pseudo-mandibular prognathism, and cranial deformities, and the sutural deformities are not quite visible in this photo, but you can see the two features of the triad in this one. Next, let me tell you, they are anti-mongoloid eyes. You see there are big eyes. Mongoloid will be the very small eyes, mongoloid species. So there are anti-mongoloid eyes. There's mid-face hypoplasia. There will be very less growth of the mid-face. Can you see it? Can you appreciate it? The maxilla of the nose. Now there will be, since there is mid-face hypoplasia, there will be pseudo-mandibular prognathism. So the maxilla is quite smaller than the mandible. Therefore, there is a appearance that the mandible is bigger, but it's the maxilla that is smaller in this case. So it will be pseudo-mandibular prognathism. And then it will be parrot beak face. Parrot beak appearance. Nose, sorry. The lip, upper lip and philtrum are very short. Can you appreciate in this one? The upper lip and the philtrum are very short as compared to the lower lip, which is lower and drooping. As the mandible is big and the maxilla is very short, the lower lip will be drooping and the upper lip is also short. There are shallow orbits with exophthalmos. Can you appreciate it here? There is shallow orbits with exophthalmos. Hypertelorism, there is a lot of space between the two eyes. And then there are divergent strabismus. What is divergent strabismus? This. One eye over here and one eye will be here. Can you see in this photo? This is, both eyes should be in the middle, but one is here and there is here. This is called as divergent strabismus. If the same eye was to be here, then it will be convergent strabismus. There is divergent strabismus. There can be optic neuritis or choke disc, that is, which can lead to blindness. What is optic neuritis? So there is increased intracranial pressure because the brain wants to grow, but there is no enough space. So there is increased intracranial pressure. Your increased intracranial pressure, it affects the optic nerve. So optic disc protrudes into the eye with blurred margin. The optic disc tries to protrude in the eye. Blood vessels in its center are not. Can you see there? So there is increased cranial pressure because the brain wants to grow, but there is no enough space. Then the optic disc protrudes into the eye with blurred margins. Blood vessels in its center are not distinct. The pressure has made them collapse. There are no distinct blood vessels. The pressure makes them collapse. There is 80% damage of the nerve. If there is lot of damage, it can lead to blindness in these individuals. Spina bifida occulta may be present. What is spina bifida occulta? It is the most common and mildest form of spina bifida. So what happens is it is hidden because the prenatal test used to diagnose the spina bifida don't catch the disorder. So there is some space which the cord is exposed, the spinal cord, but it is not so much. There can be hair dimple or birthmark on the back of the side of the lesion. Usually no symptoms are found accidentally later in life. There is superior hair where there is exposure of the spinal cord, but it does not protrude out. It is just there, but little bit of it is exposed. It is due to the vertebral bones are not quite formed, or they are not formed that they can hide the spinal cord. So there is little bit exposure of the spinal cord, which can cause some hair, or there will be dimple in the back of the back above the side of the lesion, but there will be no any symptoms or found in this kind of spina bifida, which is spina bifida occulta. So it can occur or not, defective closure of the bony encasement of the spinal cord, I just told you. Mental retardation can be present if there is increased intracranial pressure. Mental retardation can be there. Now, what are the oral manifestations? What you will see in this kind of patient? There will be crowding of the teeth. There will be a lot of teeth together. Ectopic eruption of the maxillary first molar. What is ectopic eruption? It is not eruption of the maxillary first molar other than its site. Somewhere in the above the canine or somewhere like that, but not in its site. Or okay, somewhere not in the arc also, otherwise it will be transposition. So it will ectopic eruption of maxillary first molar will be seen. Anterior open bite, so you will find a anterior open bite in these patients. Then there is lateral palatal swelling. There can be lateral palatal swelling, the palate can swell. V-shaped and high palatal vault can also be seen, and cleft palate can be seen or not be seen, depends on the severity of this syndrome. There will be V-shaped palate. I showed you how V-shaped palate looks like if you check the other videos of developmental anomalies. Now, coming to radiological features, you will have, you can see that the sagittal and coronal early fusion, increased intracranial pressure leads to prominent cranial markings. So these are seen as multiple radiolucency and depressions which on the inner surface of the cranial wall. Can you appreciate it in these? So there will be intracranial pressure which will cause some deformities in the site of the inner aspect of the cranial wall, which is known as beaten metal appearance. So here you can see that the sagittal and the coronal sutures are not fused in this. Other features is shallow eye sockets, shortened anterior cranial fossa. There will be shortened anterior cranial fossa, and there is underdeveloped paranasal sinuses. Okay, shallow eye sockets, I told you eye sockets are shallow and there are eye protruding out. Shortened anterior cranial fossa because there is mid-face hypoplasia, and underdeveloped paranasal sinus, the same reason. What will be the treatment in this kind of syndrome? There will be multidisciplinary approach that you will treat the symptoms because it's a mutational cause. So stage 1, you can do craniectomy at an early age to provide space for the rapidly developing brain. So you will not have other secondary craniosynostosis, which will be other abnormalities related to this. And in secondary can be cosmetic correction for various facial defects if the patient is willing and patient wants. Now we come to Epworth syndrome. It's also a craniosynostosis syndrome, mutation in the gene fibroblast, same gene FGFR2 located on chromosome 10. Here it is 3q21 to q23. 2 is region, 1 is band, q you know what it is. So in this, it is also autosomal dominant. There is hypotelorism, there is maxillary hypoplasia, there is bicoronal synostosis, coronal sutures fuse, and then there is protruding eyes, lower set ears, and syndactyly, it's like this, spelled like this. characterized feature that permits distinction from other similar syndromes. Apert syndrome, mutation on chromosome 10 and chromosome 3q, all of these I just said. Synonyms is acrocephalosyndactyly. Differences is then chromosons. What is the differences? Syndactyly is the differences of feet and hand. Other features are same. In the feet you will have sock feet, and hand you will have mitten hands. In some cases, genitourinary, GI or respiratory symptoms can also be seen. There will be delayed ectopic teeth eruption. There will be delayed ectopic other than the position. Shovel-shaped incisors can be present in this, and the clinical features are same as chromosons, just syndactyly is not included. So here is a triad, have craniosynostosis, midface hypoplasia, syndactyly, mutation fibroblast growth factor, receptor 2, chromosome 10q25 and also that 3, chromosome 3q2526. Acrobrachiocephaly is the tower skull, therefore the name itself. Okay, there will be hypotelorism. You can see hypotelorism, downward slanting, palpebral fissure, downward slanting palpebral fissure. There will be flat occiput, prominent forehead, depressed nasal bridge. This it will be depressed, and there will be oculoproptosis, or also known as exophthalmos. There will be cleft lip, may or may not be there. Prominent mandible is there. So hand is known as mitten hand, soft feet. Syndactyly of second, fourth, third and fourth digit can be seen occasionally, most commonly. The other digit can be in occasionally. There is midface hypoplasia also. So with that we are done with the craniosynostosis, and I would like to thank you. Bye.